Hi there, it's Paulie here. So I have had reader requests to review some of my own games, and so I shall, because Snoots wants it. So, yeah, I did a novel for Gamma World. It's called Red Sails in the Fallout. I'm a huge Gamma World fan. I was growing up as a teenager. That was the game that I consistently ran. That was my one. And I loved it. First edition. Not fond of the others. First edition. Love it. So it was nice to do the novel, but that was for like 4th edition D&D days, and the new edition of Gamma World they had was rubbish. I just thought it was just lip strumming insanity. They just kind of wanted it. They turned it into a board game, basically. All right. So I was supposed to be Wizards of the Coast's Gamma World person. They said, would you mind taking the range over? Could you redesign it? Could you get a new version of it out? Could you be the one that does it? We want you to do magazine articles on it. We want you to do a revised game. We want you to do more novels. We want you to set up novels for a series. Like the sky's the limit. I'm pretty damn poor, so I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. And then they just said, no, let's just fire everyone involved with Gamma World and just forget we ever did it. But however, like I said, I love Gamma World. So what I did was I set up my own world. Gamma World, but nicer. And I did my own. First off, I did my own game, and then I did novels. So I did a game called Genestorm, and it's out there on drive-through, and it's got a campaign setting for it called the Weird Lands, which is probably the best. Oh, my modesty, but it is the best kind of hex crawl for post-apocalyptic stuff I've seen, because there wasn't one, so I wrote one. You always write the thing that you actually want to play, and then no one can run it for you because you bloody wrote it. But what the hell? So Genestorm. My idea was, don't forget how to make guns. You just don't forget that gunpowder works. That's not how it works. So first off, survivor communities, some of them are really primitive. Obviously, you can really fall down so that, you do have to use sharpened sticks as weapons. However, ones that kind of manage to keep it together a bit can make guns and so on that can be made at relatively low tech. So they can do musket equivalents or kind of mid-19th century style. If you've got enough tools and you are very advanced, the high-level civilization guys can do the equivalent of a breech loader or a breech-loading pistol, or maybe even a revolver. So that's the height of survivor technology, and it goes backwards from there too, pretty damn primitive. But the idea was that there was a bioweapon that was released, and what it does is it scrambles your genes with other stuff that you encounter. So effectively, if a mosquito bites you, the mosquito gets human DNA in it, and it will start to mutate, horribly. And meanwhile, you might get a little bit of mosquito DNA, and you will mutate horribly. And this was a bioweapon that ran riot, and eventually things just turn to like seething blobs and just explode because it's just they're breathing in microbes and rolling over grass, and they just take on all this sort of stuff and explode. However, it calmed down after a while, and when some things basically stabilized, and now hundreds of years later, most people are a mix of all kinds of different creatures and so forth. So you pick what your ancestry was, and you get some strengths and abilities and so on based on what your mix is. So you might decide, hey, I'm someone that, I was eating broccoli. I'm a broccoli person. No, I'm going to be like part budgie. I'm going to be I'm going to be part horse. I'm going to be, hang on, I was eating a steak. Or my ancestor was eating a steak. I'm going to be kind of a Minotaur bully kind of thing, but there's going to be a little bit of armadillo built in. Fine. You pick different assets and you build a character. And you take skills and so on. It was fun. The core of this, however, was a very cool little games mechanism. I keep trying to push the limits of game design. And Every single game that comes out is the same. I've got a task, I roll against it. Okay, let's do something different. So what I did in this one was decided for combat or conflict simulation, we're not trying to simulate individual shots. I'm not rolling to see if I hit you with the shot from the musket. What we're playing is a conflict. So I am in the rocks and someone else is also in the rocks and we are having a shootout. So this could be taking place over a few minutes where we're hiding and popping out of cover and shooting, and then I see he's up there, so I try stalking off to the left, but he's anticipated that and he's covered that area, and so, you know, so there's a lot of to and fro actually going on. So we're rolling to see how we go in this section of this conflict. Same goes for hand to hand. For those of you who've ever done like kendo or you know, fencing or whatever, no, you're not like rolling individual shots. I'm going in, okay, all right. I come in, I've got a bit of a plan and I'm adapting, and we've got this whole to and fro between us. I'm going to roll aside and try and, you know, make a slight fake opening because I want you to come in. I'm actually going to do like Suryash and I'm going to come back in, but you know, so you're sliding off to one side. So yeah, there's actually a whole give and take which goes for quite some time. Tactics, oh yeah, I found out this guy's quite deceptive, you know, so you're trying to adapt yourself. So that's what we're simulating. What happens is, depending on your skill levels, each person in a conflict is rolling a fistful of dice. You're rolling a fistful of dice. Now, you're looking for like dice, so ones that are pairs, triples, quadruples. It's either the dice with the highest individual score, or it's the highest chained dice. So that can be dice with the same numbers on their face. So if I've got 4 6s, yep, that's 24 points right there. Or it's dice that make a numerical sequence. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. You know, makes a sequence. So whoever's got the highest resulting score wins. But you both roll those dice, and then depending on who's got the advantage in the situation, you can sacrifice some of your dice to either remove one of the other guy's dice that you choose, or you can even steal one of his dice and transfer it over to yourself, which is very expensive. You've got to blow up, you know, dice of like equivalent values and higher values and so on. So what you're doing is you're looking at this guy's dice and you can figure out, well, hang on, he's going to get me because he's got like 3, 4, 5, 6. However, if I take out the 5, all he's got is a 6 and a 3 and a 4, and he's got like a couple of double 2s there. So I want to snipe out his 5, or I'm going to steal it and complete something in my own hand. So one of you steals or disrupts dice, the other guy replies, you reply. So there's a bit of a back and forth. So you can take a slightly longer game. I'm going to snipe that off. I know he's going to try and blow that up, but what he doesn't realize is I can trash in these dice here, steal his 3, complete that run, and then I'll probably beat what he's got left. So there's some actual gamesmanship in this, as it's actually going to and from. And teams, when you've got like multiple teams, you can add your dice together, or it can split off into individual fights. So so yeah, some gamesmanship going back and forth. I was trying to come up with something very different, but also do a different simulation to what everyone else seems to be doing. So, you know, I like that system. It was an interesting one. No one's really done anything like it. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of cool creatures in there, all coming off this kind of gene splice idea. Some of these things are almost like, this is the horrible end. There are these carnivorous things and, you know, horrible stuff, which is like, yeah, as the players, you're the ones that retain some kind of humanoid aspects and intelligence. There's things out there that didn't, and that have remained this horrible blend of characteristics and just turned into these new things. The tech that you were dealing with before the Great Fall was pretty high. These guys were sort of combat armor and laser gunny kind of plasma rifle-y sorts, so they're pretty high tech, anti-grav vehicles and whatever. So their ruins are out there, their shuttles and their vehicles and their remains are out there. There's a lot of these guys had like a chip embedded in them, which was used for security, and also had their banking details and all this sort of stuff. You can find these chips. It's a bit dark, but these are tokens that can be used for money. And there are lots and lots of rules there about salvage, which was the thing that was kind of missing from Gamworld and so on. The stuff from ruins is valuable to you, and resources are valuable. So little resources, things like sulfur, things like potassium nitrate, and so on, are obviously going to be useful to these guys because they can make guns and things out of it. But things like steel and iron and glass and rubber and high-tech clothing and so on are also really a resource that's worthwhile. If you can, these guys can laboriously dig iron and probably laboriously smelt it and then laboriously turn it into steel. But if you can get some steel girders and so on out of ruins, then great. Look, glass, we can probably melt sand if we can find some pure sand. There's lots of, crap in most of it, and we can probably make our own glass. But if you can find like some glass sheets out of some windscreens out of old cars or something, they'd be great. They'll pay you for them in town. We use those for windows. So finding this kind of stuff is actually useful. So the life of being a scavenger is actually kind of a viable thing. Finding places that have got stuff can bring in like not massive cash, but it can bring in some money. You can support yourself doing this. So that's kind of the impetus to go out there and find places with cool ruins and cool wreckage that's just got like salvage in it that you can use to bring back, and that's your tradables. There's cool artifacts out there. You can find guns and armor and all sorts of incredible, interesting G-Jaws, but those are really rare and they're not absolutely game changers. This is more a game of getting out in the ruins, finding cool stuff, trading, finding new peoples, finding new places, discovering tribes and groups that you hadn't known were there, doing first contact, making a world. So that was the world. Now, the Weirdlands is a massive hex-based hex crawl campaign. It's got a little town and so on at the start, and a couple of other places that and then the rest of the world's your oyster. So it's all these hexes that are detailed out with ruins and wreckage and salvage and conundrums and environmental threats. It's just a great place to explore. I was really proud of some of the stuff there. So there's like a lake that's got a really high salt content, but you can see there's like some kind of crashed shuttle. You can see it clearly down there. But because this is like the Red Sea, it's really hard to swim down there. Really hard, because you're so buoyant because the water's so dense. But because this is in a desert area, it's not like, we'll just tie some rope around a bunch of rocks and we'll weigh ourselves down and we'll go down there. So, there's nothing around you but sand. You're going to have to come up with an idea of, I'm going to have to fill bags with sand or something. So there's, or that you find there'll be a wreck that's kind of teetering on the edge of a cliff, or others that are hidden in areas. There's other areas that are very dangerous because of the creatures living in them. Sidebar: I always loved the Andre Norton Starman's Son book. That kind of lived in my head for decades. So you do find dangerous cities because there's actually things living in there. I did Genestorm novels, and they are great. They are an absolute hoot. They're some of my favourites of my own, and they are adventures in that world. The main character is a shark, a humanoid shark. She's great fun. She rides a giant pink cockatoo, and she has to keep bribing it with salty crackers to do stuff. It's like, okay, look, we got to go do this. You guard the camp. Salty cracker? What? Salty cracker? Oh, you want a salty cracker to guard the camp? 2 salty crackers. All right, 2 salty crackers guard the camp. So, I think there's a pink orchid mantis. There's another guy who's like part fox, part pheasant, just, absolutely beautiful. And there's a flying, floating plant, a rowing itself through the air with its leaves and everything, because that was part of the charm of original Gamma World. You could be a plant, you could be a mass of bugs, you could be whatever. So those two novels are set in that world, and they are an absolute riot. So it's kind of celebrating all that's good with Gamma World without some of the crazy mutation-y, mentally power stuff. It's like it's a more grounded, playable world. You're not blasting things with your mental powers, but you may be riding across the plains on your giant war cockatoo with your revolver rifle in its sheath and a rusty old sword at your back, and you're wearing some bits of salvaged armor, and you got pack animals behind you that have got the cool electric motors that you stripped out of a couple of motorcycles you found, because those things are worth a ton of money. In fact, maybe you'll be able to make a vehicle out of them yourself. So it's that kind of a world. So yeah, look, do take a look at them. They're up there on Drive-Thru. I really enjoyed doing them. And the books, the novels, you'll find those on Amazon or on lulu.com for the hard copies. So anyway, yeah, do please take a look. Particularly the novels. The novels were a riot. So yeah, anyway, that's my review of my own stuff. Shameless, I know. Okay, cheers everyone. Bye.